I wanted to do a review of the Charvel Dimas and the Charvel DK. I got both of these guitars over the last 6 months or so, and I've owned a ton of guitars over the last 10 years, and it's crazy how much I've pulled both of these out to use them since getting them. They've both been great additions to the lineup. So I thought I'd do a quick video to compare and contrast them since they're both very different guitars, but both key parts of the Charvel lineup. I'll briefly discuss and highlight the key items on each guitar, and I'll do a jam to show them in a mix and end with some noodling on the various pickup positions to highlight the different tones available. So starting with the comparison and starting with the DK, and that's the Pro-Mod DK24 HH 2PT CM QM. Mouthful there. So first of all, the neck size. Let's go to the specs here. So the neck is, to me, a fairly thin D shape. It's very different than the rounded C-style neck on the Dimas. It's thinner. It's not Ibanez Wizard thin, but it is definitely thinner, and I would say in between a Wizard and the Charvel Dimas rounded C shape. Some say it's too thin. I like it a lot, and I like the Dimas rounded C as well. I like them both, but just if you're looking at these guitars, just know that it is a thinner shape and it's more of a D shape. It's not, to me, a hardcore D shape, but it's more of a D shape than it is a C shape with the typical Charvel neck. The body shape, DK has the dinky body shape, so we can see that there. Of course, it's say it's about 10% smaller than the Dimas, and that feels about right to me. It is definitely smaller and sleeker. Again, it's one of those personal preference things. I really like them both, but dinky is very sleek and very comfortable. I don't play live, but if I did, the DK would really be hard to beat in terms of comfort. And that gets us to the heel then. So same thing with the heel. Once again, the DK is going to be sleeker. You can see it's got what they call the cut heel. So just very sleek there and comfortable. They've got this extra cutaway right here as well. And so it's more like I'm used to with an Ibanez or a Schecter, many others, but very nice, very comfortable. And then you go to the Dimas, and it has that sort of traditional 80s style block heel, which doesn't look quite as nice, but for me, up near the top frets, it doesn't get in my way. So again, I don't play live. I play sitting down all the time. So it doesn't impact me. So I like them both. There's definitely something appealing about the Shredder's Cut heel with the DK. All right, let's go to the bridge. So pull up the pick here. The DK has the Goto 510. It has locking tuners, but the does not have locking fine tuners on the Goto. Got this trem in my Sur, and I've had it in a couple other guitars as well. I think it's a fantastic trem. I would say it does 80% of what the Floyd Rose can do without any of the hassle. And then let's go to the Dimas. So obviously it has the locking Floyd. Everybody knows what those are. I will say one call out on this is typically I can't stand the traditional Floyd Roses where the locking tuners are sticking up so far. It always bumps my heel of my hand and it just drives me nuts. And so I typically never keep those guitars, and I end locking tuners, end up with the Ibanez Low Pro style tuners. In this case, this one it just sits farther back in a really good way, and it palm of my hand just doesn't get back there. And so it's just out of the way and it's perfect. Not many guitars with Floyds have had that for me. Really like that. So that works as well. All right, let's go to the frets. So starting with the DK, and you're not going to be able to see it on these picks, but they're the biggest frets I've ever had in a guitar. And if you go to the specs, so the frets say jumbo fret size, as does the Dimas. So jumbo, where is that? There, jumbo frets. So you'd think they'd be the same size, but to me they are not. Maybe it's just the neck carve. I don't know on the DK, but the frets feel very large. I tend to like the smaller vintage frets, but these are fine. I got used to them quickly, and they're totally fine. But they seem really tall and then fat as well. Where on the Dimas, they don't seem as wide to me, and they're very comfortable. They're both fine. I just call it out if you hate super big frets, should take that into consideration. If you love them, you're going to like these. Okay, so let's go to the DK, and pickups in the bridge is the full shred, and the neck, it's this Alcano 2 Pro. On this, first of all, I think this guitar sounds fantastic. I think it's one of my best sounding guitars, and some nice guitars, and I've got some cheaper guitars as well. But I think this thing sounds fantastic. They both do. The DK in particular, I had a guitar a long time ago that had the full shred in it, and I just didn't like it. So I was a little bit worried about that when I got this, but man, in this guitar, it really does sound fantastic. It's bright, but yet full is how I describe the tone of this guitar, and it's aggressive too. So when you're looking to do things like pinch harmonics, really get a squeal out of the guitar, it does that very well. Just an aggressive sounding, again, bright but full. It's bright but not shrill. It's really, really great sound to me. And that's the DK. On the San Dimas, so it's the JB and the 59, the classic combo. Same kind of thing with the JB. I had a number of JBs in the past and generally just felt like I didn't like them because they were mid-spike, could be shrill and kind of thin sounding. And in this guitar, that is definitely not the case. In fact, I would describe the tone in the San Dimas as a little bit more balanced on the DK, meaning it's not quite as aggressive, nice and full, but more balanced is the best word I could think of to describe that. Still great tone. The guitar sounds fabulous. Interesting, the characteristic of the JB, I just don't hear it in this guitar, which is a good thing to me. I got to call out the DK on this. It plays pretty effortlessly. I would say, along with my Schecter Banshee, it's one of the most playable guitars that I have. And then the San Dimas, as you would expect it would, it plays really well as well. Not quite the sleekness that the DK has. So on then range of tones, the DK has 10 tones. Here it is, the 5-position blade, and this 2-way toggle that, goes to parallel. I don't really know the difference between parallel and coil split. They kind of sound the same to me, but it does that thing. I like mini toggle switches. They're easier than on the San Dimas where you have to pull the volume button. Don't need 10 tones in a guitar. Probably need 2, maybe 3. They're interesting, and I think they're usable. And then the San Dimas has 6 tones. I call that the 6-pack of sound with a 3-position switch. Let's go there. The 3-position switch, and then the coil split. We'll say I think I like the split tones on the DK a bit better than the San Dimas, but frankly, I've never put them in a recording, so not that big a deal to me. Okay. For the tones, I think both the guitars sound really good. My litmus test for this is always how often I pull them out of the rack to use them to record. And in the last 6 months or so that I've had these guitars, of them, I've pulled out a lot. And that's pretty much the test for me on playability and tones. Are they beating out the other guitars for a particular assignment? And they have quite a bit. DK, as I mentioned, is a bit brighter and more articulate than the San Dimas, but yet it is still full sounding. And so for that one, it can do classic rock to 80s rock and metal. I think would be fantastic at modern metal as well, just given how articulate full shred pickup is. And then one other thing I was thinking about was a big compliment I would give it. Think that as I scroll through presets on my XFX3, it sounds better in sort of a wider variety of presets than maybe any of my other guitars do. It just tends to work. That's high praise in my shop. And then the San Dimas, again, is more balanced. It's not quite as dynamic, a little bit more limited in tonal range, but what it does very well in rock and 80s rock and metal does very well. So to summarize, both are great players. And then the price, and go to this and see, the San Dimas is $899 and new, and then the Pro-Mod DK24 is $1,100. Like, you can't beat in terms of the price for these guitars. And there's usually plenty available used as well, and so you get a couple $100 off at least. You can't beat that. Now let's go and here's some tones. First, a comparison of the guitars in a mix and some isolated riffs, and then after that's noodling through the positions to hear the tonal variety available with both of them. So I hope this helps in terms of considering these guitars, and if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments.